All right, I want to welcome everybody here in the Michigan City Hall chambers, and also those watching at home on Facebook and on Comcast channel 97. My name is Drew White. I am the Director of Operations for Access LaPorte County, and we have been working close the last couple of weeks with the League of Women Voters of LaPorte County to bring viewers and those of you in person the chance to get to meet some of the candidates that you are going to find on your ballots when you go to the polls for the primary election next month. Real quick, I want to give a quick shout out. I've got my entire team here with the exception of Lee Schelling back in the studio. Andy Steele is over on the fancy controls. Kevin Harmon right here on a camera, and Anna Galloway on a camera. These guys and Lee back in the station got Access LaPorte County through a very difficult time last year, so I wanted to make sure that I got them a little bit of credit. They're used to being behind the camera, but I want to thank them for all of their hard work over the last year and going forward. But with all of that, I want to thank everybody for coming out, and I am going to turn it over to our host and moderator for tonight's event, the president of the League of Women Voters of LaPorte County, Bonnie Shaw.
Thank you. And if you cannot hear me, you just have to raise your hands or something because I'm not used to speaking loudly. Good evening. My name is Bonnie Schaff. I am the president of the League of Women Voters of LaPorte County. And on behalf of the League, I want to thank all of you for coming tonight, the candidates and the audience members. Thank you. Thank you for coming. The League of Women Voters of LaPorte County is a nonpartisan organization encouraging informed and active participation in government. We do this by studying and advocating for public policies, by reaching out to the public with civic education programs and monthly lunch and dinner meetings with community leaders. We engage voters through candidate forums, voter registration drives, and with our online voters guide, vote411.org. We welcome women and men who want to assure that democracy works for everyone. The forum tonight is being broadcast live on Access LaPorte County, channel 97, and we thank Drew and all of the people from ALCO for being here and for collaborating with us on the forums this year. Be sure to check out our online voters guide that I mentioned, vote411.org. We encourage candidates to fill out survey to answer questions, and then it's in an easy format for voters to look up, and you can easily compare the different candidates to each other on that. And the answers are in their own words. They're not edited by us. They're not. They just get to submit them. They push the button that submits those. The rules for this forum tonight are as follows. The moderator will determine the order of the presentations. All candidates, whether they're contested or not, will have 2 minutes to give an opening statement. The contested candidates will also be given questions and will have 1 minute to answer each question, followed by 1 minute for closing remarks. In the interest of time, the number of questions for the candidates might be limited. 15 seconds before your time is up, our timer sitting in front here and will hold up the yellow card. That's your 15-second warning. And then when your time is up, she'll hold up the red card. And you can finish your sentence, but don't go beyond that, please. We do not accept verbal questions from the audience, but instead, League members are here distributing index cards and pencils so you can write out your questions. And then they are brought up to the screeners table here, the 3 women here, and they will choose which questions to submit to me to read to the candidates. And we also had requested members of the public to submit their questions to our website for the last few weeks too. So we already have some questions. So, but if you have any questions at all for the candidates, please write those out on the index cards. You can start as soon as the opening statements. I am a lawyer. As soon as they start giving their opening statements, you might think of questions. So get them in right away, and the whole time that they're talking up here. So these screeners are members of the League of Women Voters Voter Services Committee. Now, the League expects everyone here to be courteous and respectful. Outbursts and disruptions are not allowed from the audience members, or they will be asked to leave. And the questions that you write out to need to be, can't be personal attacks. They need to be courteous and probably informative. So we will begin now. And did Melody Farmer come in? I haven't seen her yet, but her place is right up there. She's here. Okay. Well, we are beginning tonight with Township Board candidates. None of the Township Trustee candidates that we invited, and we only invited contested candidates or contested races, but if you see, I hope you all have a program, and if you see the list on there, these are all the candidates that we invited. Several Township Board candidates and trustee candidates, but and we only have 3 here tonight, but we appreciate that they all came. The 3 that we have with us tonight are 2 Republican candidates from Center Township Board, Bob Wolinski and Tylene Fuller. And we have 1 candidate, Democratic candidate for the Michigan Township Board, and that is Susan Webster. So we will begin now with the opening 2-minute opening statements, and we'll begin with Tylene Fuller.
I was hoping Bob was going to have to go first. Don't everyone rush with your questions. I know that, Board of Advisors is a hotly contested race up here. I have to tell you, thank you, first of all, for allowing me to be here. As I alluded to, board work is not the flashiest thing that we could be running for, and during my campaign, I can always tell when people, first of all, think I'm running for trustee, which I am not running for trustee. We are running for board of advisors. Once they figure out that I'm not actually running for trustee and running for advisors, then the glazed over look starts. Because now I'm going to start talking to you about board work. But let me tell you what, growing up in the community in LaPorte, in Center Township for the most of my life, I understand how important it is to have a strong board candidate and to have strong board behind you. Because, it's not flashy, it's not glamorous, but A, it pays the bills, and B, it advocates for what your community needs. And as a child growing up in LaPorte, some of the best board members created some of the best events for me at, the local YMCA, at the libraries, at the Youth Service Bureau. I mean, so many partners came together to make a better community for children like myself because they had strong boards behind them. And so the other fact that I'm sitting up here next to Bob, who has personally photographed my children when they were teeny tiny, it amazes me because that is the great thing about board work, is that, you can start anywhere and you can talk to the right people and you can become an advocate for something that you believe in. And then you can get up here and you can say, hey, you know what, I'm going to run for this because it is important. So my name is Tylene Fuller. I am a wife of 16 years and a mother, and I am proud to be up here. So thank you so much for inviting me.
Okay, and Mr. Wolinski, will you give your statement?
Well, first of all, I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters and also Access LaPorte County for hosting this forum tonight. It's it's very important to get not only our message out, but to educate the voters. Like, my name is Bob Wolinski. I'm a husband. My wife married. I've been married 21 years, 6 children, 2 grandchildren, and I've been a lifelong Center Township resident. Growing up in Center Township has just been wonderful, and like Tylene said, I've been a photographer in the community for numerous years, and while I've served as a photographer, I'm in my first year as a Center Township board member, and it's just been rewarding to be able to give back to the community. Throughout my life, I've served the community in different aspects. PTA president at Highland School, PTO president, Queen of All Saints, currently serving the Holy Family Parish in LaPorte, working towards the diaconate program. And I look at this role because it is, as you can see, a grassroots position. Really deal with the community face to face, hand in hand. And as a board member, we support the township trustee in getting services to those who need it. And unfortunately, there is a great need for those services. And we have a remarkable trustee that's done an outstanding job, and it's been an honor to serve with her. I'd like to continue that service to our community, to each and every one of you. And thank you so much.
Thank you, Bob. And the next candidate is Susan Webster, the Democratic candidate for Michigan Township Board. Susan, you may now give your opening statement.
Good evening, and thank you for hosting the candidates forum tonight, and that you also included the township candidates to speak. I am Susan Webster. I'm running for re-election to the Michigan Township Board. I was first elected in May of 2014 and have been the secretary for the board since January of 2015. And I'm also the secretary for our finance committee. There are 21 townships in LaPorte County, and Michigan Township is the largest one. The 3 board members are the Oversight Committee for the Township Trustee. It's our duty to make sure the trustee and staff handle the township funds in accordance with state laws. We have 2 budgets, the general fund and the township assistance. The 2 programs that we provide the most assistance for is housing and utility assistance. In the past 2 years, because of the pandemic, we have had many more applications submitted to our office due to the loss of jobs and the families dealing with many more hardships. There are strict guidelines the residents must follow, which are set by Indiana Code to be eligible for the township assistance. The township trustee provides the applications and assists the public. The township board, pursuant to Indiana Code, reviews what the township has done and how they are spending the funds. I have volunteered for many not-for-profit boards over the years and working as a volunteer in many of their programs. Currently, I am a member of the LaPorte County Meals on Wheels Board, a member of the LaPorte County Pioneer Cemetery Commission, and on March 31st, I finished 9 years of service on the Michigan City Community Enrichment Corporation Board. I would appreciate your vote on May 3rd. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. Okay, I have some questions now that I've received from the audience. And the first one, let's see. The first question is, explain to the voters the importance of being a township trustee. And we will begin with Susan. The importance of being, a township board member.
Thank you. It's important to me because I have lived in Michigan Township almost my entire life.
Can you turn her mic up?
Very aware of all the needs in our community. I've been, where's your mic on? The mic is on.
Pull it closer to you.
Just be closer, get closer to the mic.
I have lived in Michigan Township almost my entire life, and I know the needs. I've been involved in not-for-profits for a very long time, sitting on boards and serving on their programs. The Michigan City Community and Corporation, the Michigan City Community Enrichment Corporation Board that I just left after 9 years, mandatory after being on it for 9 years, according to the bylaws, you have to. We award approximately $650,000 a year to 501c3 not-for-profits. And so I'm very aware of many of the needs and many of the programs that we have who are providing needs.
Okay, thank you, Susan. And Bob, could you please answer the question, explain to the voters the importance of being a township board member?
Yes. So I said before, it is more or less a grassroots position that we really work with the residents and citizens that need financial or help. And as a board member, we make sure that everything is done with financial responsibility, especially having one of the greatest volunteer fire departments in the county. We need to make sure that they're well equipped to cover our township with the best possible equipment by maintaining, cost, keeping cost in mind, and also making sure the trustee has the resources to tend to and take care of those that come in for assistance in their office.
Thank you, Bob. And Tylene.
I'm not sure what else I could add to what they said because they're right on it. As a board member, it is important that we go in knowing who we are advocating for, and being a strong board member and obviously working with your trustee is going to be important. However, you are there to advocate for the people of your township. So being there as a checks and balance is very important. I was able to serve 2 years on the City of LaPorte Park and Rec Board. It was my first board experience, and it was an amazing one. And seeing what we could do there and how we could advocate for people there on the board made me want to step up and come to Center Township. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, the second question, this will again be for all three of you, and Bob, we'll begin with you. Please explain why you are the best candidate for this office.
Well, I have finishing up my first term as a Center Township board member, and in the past I was on the Center Township Fire Department where I served as a secretary and treasurer, also being PTA president at Heilman Elementary and PTO president at Queen of All Saints. I have some of that knowledge of working with other members and working with financial ends of events, fundraisers, and knowing many people in the community. I have that connection with the community where I can get out and serve as best I can, but it is a board of three, so it's not just me. It comes down to working with other people and being the best, doing what's best for the common good of the community.
Thank you. And Tylene, please explain why you are the best candidate for this office.
I am hoping for everyone's vote, honestly, because I feel like this is an opportunity to show, our county, to be very perfectly honest, that we can have this new, fresh influx of people who really have a passion and a drive to help their community. Maybe, they haven't been involved in politics or even service for decades. Maybe, they don't have that name that you're going to automatically recognize and know when you see it, but they have a passion for service and they want to get there and they want to help. And I'm hoping by electing someone like myself, we are showing them that, you know, you can start as that PTA, PTO mom, and you can make differences along the way, and then can continue to serve with strong board members. So, thank you.
Thank you. And Susan, please explain why you are the best candidate for this office.
We have 4 people are running for this office. 3 of us are incumbents, and then there's a new one who's running who hopes to be also elected, so one of us won't be. Since I have been on the board since May of 2014, and I became the secretary soon after that, and have continued to be the secretary of the board all these years. I have learned a lot. Being on a township board, the first couple of years you are really learning and finding out what your responsibilities are and what all it includes. But I hope I'm one that will be reelected because of my experience on the board. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. Okay, to go on to our third question, again for all 3 of you. What steps will you take to improve services to the residents of your township? And we will begin with Tylene.
Wow, you guys are really just knocking it out of the park today. My gosh, you can have any questions for the people after us? Geez Louise, this is great. So obviously, you know, Bob touched on the fact that one of our major things that we do is we make sure that our fire department, our volunteer fire departments, are equipped with the things that they need, with the manpower, you know, just with the ability to be able to serve their vast area. We have a trustee in Center Township that has done an amazing job of advocating for, you know, the grants to get the equipment in, and you know, for the building, and you know, just done an amazing job. And so obviously as a board member, we want to continue on that path, and we want to make sure that we stay fiscally responsible so that in the future we can continue to, you know, have these people come here, stay here, want to be here, want to serve our community. So I am just hoping to be able to, you know, continue on with the great work that the board and the trustee have been doing so far. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And Susan, the same question. What steps will you take to improve services to the residents of your township?
We have been trying to get a food pantry area and a clothing area in our township trustee's office. We're located at 2601 East Michigan Boulevard, and I believe we have the space. However, we're told that they don't have enough staff to cover a food pantry or clothing. I would like our township to be able to do that. We don't, being in Michigan Township, we don't have anything to do with volunteer fire departments because we have city fire departments covering all of our area. But we're always wanting to improve the services that we can provide.
Thank you. And Bob, same question.
So, Tylene said, you know, with this past 4 years, we've done a lot. Lisa has gone out of her way to really help the community, and it's, as far as what we're doing is giving her that support as far as new offices, which is going to better serve the township. Center Township's the largest township in the county, so there's a large population that we cover. So we've helped her, supported her in getting this new office that will better serve. And the fire department, we've gotten them some new equipment, getting them some, looking into some new equipment to better serve the fire needs of the community.
Thank you. Okay, going on to our next question, and Susan, we'll begin with you. How will you provide oversight of the trustees' use of funds?
Well, it's what we have been doing already. We go through the bank statements each month, balancing out what has been spent. We look at the deposits that were made, and pretty much on a monthly basis look through all of the deposits and all of the expenditures that were made. If there is anything that we have questions about, we ask the township trustee and the office manager, and that's pretty much what our oversight is. Once a year we have an annual financial statement to go through, and we go through that, and that's everything that has been spent by the trustee in the year, and we go through that very, very diligently at the end of January or early February. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. And Tylene, how will you provide oversight of the trustees' use of funds?
I think that, part of that is just the communication that you have between the board and between the trustee. So making sure that, you have your meetings, you have them regularly, you have them often, so that, you can communicate what is actually going on, because yes, you are going to do that audit once a year and you are going to do a deep dive into those books, but having meetings more often is going to let you touch base with your trustee to stay on top of things, so that there isn't, this is an oversight thing. This is, us coming to loom over you to make sure that things are going okay, but we're not going to let it get down the road where it might potentially be a problem for us. So having these meetings on a regular basis, the board members making sure that they are looking over their packets well before they walk into the boardroom is also extremely important. Knowing what you're going to walk into and what's going to be in front of you beforehand, so that you have informed questions, so that you're not wasting the board's time, you're not wasting the trustees' time. Those are things, a few things that I've noticed that I would definitely love to address it. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, and Bob, same question.
Like Colleen said, it's communication is a key, and being prepared, looking over the packets, and not letting things get out of hand. Making sure we have the regular meetings. That way, we stay in communication. We're all on the same page, and Lisa's done a great job of giving us everything we need to look over the forms. She's always in contact with the state, making sure everything is in line with what needs to be done. So there is that communication from the trustee down to us. And like Tylene said, it's up to us board members to make sure we're on the same page, communicating with each other, and communication and regular meetings.
Thank you. Thank you, Bob. Okay, another question here. How can state, county, or city government assist townships? And Bob, we'll begin with you.
Well, it all comes down to money. And, there's only, of course, we know there's only so much money to go around. And, usually when it comes down to the township trustee, we're getting down towards the bottom of the barrel. So, Lisa's done a great job of going out and finding sources of income, ways to get things funded. And I think it's just a matter of staying in touch with our state, federal, and county officials to let them know exactly what we need and make sure they know what is needed to provide services for our residents in Center Township. And, it's just a matter of making sure that we stay on top of it.
Thank you. And Tylene, our second Republican candidate for Center Township Board.
So I have to agree with Bob. By the time you get down to these board budgets, we are having to stretch our dollars. Imagine, I imagine everyone's in the same boat as us. Inflation is crazy and the prices of everything is going up. And so for, you know, us on our budget, we are going to have to maintain that creativity by going and obtaining those grants, but by also maintaining good relationships with, you know, the policymakers and the people in our community that have the funds that can, you know, go to what we need to serve. So making sure that we have strong relationships with our local, our county, our state officials, and, you know, that's at every single level. When we see something, we need to say something. And, you know, being a board member that often sees the same people over and over and over again, you know, I'm one of those people that I don't stop talking about it. So if I know that there's a grant there, or if I know that there is money out there that we can be getting, I relentlessly talk to people until they find that money. Thank you.
Thank you. And Susan, how can state, county, or city government assist townships?
Well, of course, money, you know, any money we can get from anywhere, we'll use every penny of it. Here in Michigan City, we have some wonderful programs that the Citizens Concerned for the Homeless provide, and the Salvation Army, and we have a wonderful men and women's overnight shelters in Michigan City. So a lot of townships, you know, have homeless issues that they are also dealing with. But for us, we have the organizations here in Michigan City that are already providing a lot of those services for us. And that is what the city and state and county can do, is to help us providing services that our residents need.
Thank you. Okay. That's all the questions we have time for now. And so we'll ask now for closing statements up to 1 minute. We'll begin with Tylene.
Not exactly sure what else to add. That was pretty in-depth. You know, this is my second run. My first time running for office was for a school board in LaPorte, and we had a forum, and it was not as in-depth as this one. So thank you so much again for inviting us, for giving us an opportunity to come up and speak to you about board work, why it's important. I have been a member of our community, you know, for a very, very long time, and have enjoyed all of the things that I have been able to do because of the strong community that we have. And for me to be able to continue to be a part of that and to continue to give back is wonderful for me. So I really hope that everyone that is able to vote for me can. My name is Tylene Fuller, and I'm running for Center Township Board of Advisors.
Thank you. And Bob Wolinski.
Again, I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters and Access LaPorte County for this opportunity to be here tonight. And as I look at the candidates up here and out in the audience there, I'd like to thank each and every one of you for being willing to give of your time to seek office and to serve our community. And to the voters, you know, thank you for you know, your support, and also whether or not you vote for me, I just become educated about the candidates you're voting for, and just get out and vote. That's vital. Just get out and vote. And again, thank you so much.
Thank you. And Susan, your closing statement.
I want to thank you again for hosting this forum. I watched last week's online on Access 97, and it was very interesting. There were some great candidates running and telling us about themselves. Again, I have been on the board since May of 2014, and I would love to keep serving. I'm very proud to be on the Michigan Township Board. Please vote for me on May 3rd. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you, all three of our township candidates who are here tonight. Thank you for joining us at the forum, and you may now be seated in the audience again. Thank you.
Oh,
We are turning now to the county office candidates, and so please come up here and take your seat. That is Randy Novak, County Council candidate. Sheila Matias and Elizabeth Bergeron and Nathan Patrick are County Commission District 1 candidates. If you'll have a seat up here.
at least they got new chairs. Last time I sat up here, I was the chief. Just want to say that.
To the county candidates that we have tonight with us, Randy Novak, running for County Council District 2, and your Democratic ticket. And then for County Commission District 1 on the Democratic ticket, Sheila Matias, and on Republican ticket, Elizabeth Bergeron and Nathan Patrick. So we'll begin though first with Randy Novak. He is uncontested, so he'll be giving an opening statement, but he will not be taking questions tonight since you're not contested. So would you please give...
I like how she says that. He will not be taking questions.
In November, in the fall.
Just so you know, the other contestants that weren't here said I could have their time. So I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters. I am a candidate for re-election for LaPorte County Council District 2. I'm at the end of my second term. Just so you know something about me, if you don't, we moved here in 1969, been married to my wife Debbie for 42 plus years. The thing about me that I think sets me apart from other people is I don't consider myself a politician. I consider myself a public servant, being in the fire service and volunteer fire department before that. I've been serving the community, and it's not about the money. It's about trying to make things better. So this is a natural fit to continue on on the council to be doing this. So I'm dedicated to the community, dedicated to LaPorte County. I'm also retired from the Michigan City Fire Department after 33 and a half years as the fire chief. So from there, learned a lot about budgeting. We had about an $8 million budget, and that has taught me a lot. I currently serve I'm also a realtor with 24 years experience in Indiana and Michigan. I've been volunteering in the community, like I said, for over 40 years, from Meals on Wheels to the Samaritan Counseling Center. Currently, I'm the president of the LaPorte County Council for the 5th consecutive year, and with me, once you're elected, the politics ends. So it's all bipartisan. It's not this or that. So that's the way I see it. The other thing about it is even though I'm elected from the 2nd district, anybody in the county that calls me, whether you call me from LaPorte City, Michigan City, anywhere in the county, I don't pass you off on someone else. What I do is I try and get you the answers and get back to you and help you. The other thing is I answer my phone. If you call me, if I don't answer my phone, it's because usually I'm on the phone with somebody else. You can ask my wife. She's the first to tell you that. So.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Novak. And now continuing to the County Commission District 1 candidates. The Democratic candidate here is Sheila Matias, and 2 of the 3 Republican candidates are here, Nathan Patrick and Elizabeth Bergeron. Am I saying that's right? Okay, good. Okay, so we will begin with opening statements from each of you, and we will begin with Sheila.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, ladies, for hosting us, and for members of the League of Women Voters for hosting us this evening. My name is Sheila Grossa-Matias. Some of you know me just as Sheila. I am running again for County Commission, where I serve currently as the president of the commission. Even though I am the lone Democrat, I was elected as president. Elections are really important because you have to know that the people who you elect are going to spend your money. We make decisions that affect your quality of life. So it's really important that the very best people who share your values are in those seats. Serving now as the county commissioner, my experience managing people, projects, and complex operations has really held me in good stead. I have deep experience in government, but also in community development, in policy, and in people. As an educator and a former public school teacher, a nonprofit manager, a neighborhood activist, some of you may remember back in the day. Before my hair was white, I used to be a pretty fiery little 32-year-old fighting the waste management and bringing in Blue Chip and Stericycle, you may remember. Those are some of the environmental projects that I worked on. I have a bachelor's from John Carroll University and a master's from Valparaiso University. I share your family values as a mother of a large family, as a grandmother, a wife, and a small business owner. I want to continue to be the voice of common sense and respect. My colleague to my right and I share a lot of the same values. Once the elections are over, we're not about politics, we're about people. We're about trying to do the right thing and trying to be very careful with your money. Some of the projects that I'm particularly proud of are the jobs that we brought to LaPorte County. Just 2 weeks ago, we did a ribbon cutting for 350 new jobs in Panola, a project that's about $8 million, but it's only one of the many projects that we've worked on to make this county better. I would appreciate your vote in the fall. Thank you.
Thank you. And next, Nathan Patrick.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for the invitation here to the Women League of Women Voters. This has been something to look forward to every year. Not being a candidate myself, looking forward to seeing who's all running, seeing what they have to say. It's very interesting to me. But I could give a long laundry list of what my accomplishments are, my resume, and different things of that nature, and it would make zero difference. Zero difference. You know, we can have those conversations in person. That's a conversation piece. You know, people are like books, right? You pick one out, you read it. So I'm like an open book, but I enjoy having those conversations one-on-one. So I'm not going to do that. A lot of people know who I am. And as I said, ending my last campaign for City Council in 2018, the infamous words of Douglas MacArthur, I shall return, and return I have. Or you can say Terminator, you know, I'll be back, but here I am. I am running for County Commissioner, District 1, because it's been interesting to see the people that have been on our board, or the Board of Commissioners, for some time, and the different promises and the different actions they say that they're supposed to take. And you know, it hasn't been fully executed. Not saying that when they were going into it, they haven't fully intended on executing them, but they just fall short. They fall short. And it's no slander or slam on Commissioner Brilson. It's no slander or slam on Councilman Milvan. You're not running. Not at all. But you're a part. You know, you're a part of making those decisions. But you know, it's just a part of seeing what can we do to revitalize our commission in our county. So.
Thank you, Nathan. And Elizabeth, you may give your 2-minute opening statement.
I want to thank the League of Women Voters for hosting this forum and for everyone coming out to learn about who's on their ballot. Educated voting is so important, and it is the backbone of our nation. My name is Liz Bergeron. I'm running for LaPorte County Commissioner representing District 1. I'm married to Dion Bergeron, candidate for State Rep District 9. Together we have 5 kids ranging in age from 25 to 14. I currently serve as a Medicaid waiver case manager for one of the largest case management companies in Indiana. I serve individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities. I currently serve 53 individuals and manage 53 different teams throughout northern Indiana. I'm a lifelong Hoosier, and I'm the proud daughter of both a volunteer firefighter and a multi-generational steel mill family. I'm a former correctional officer, spending 6 years at Indiana State Prison, 2 of those years also serving on the hostage negotiation team. I will bring my experience with law enforcement, IT, insurance, and now social services to the position of commissioner. Those are skills and experience that no incumbent or current candidate has. I earned my Bachelor of Science in Healthcare Administration, and I am currently working on my MBA in Public Administration. When elected commissioner, I will focus on growing our county economically by attracting higher paying jobs. I will also focus on cost-cutting procedures so increasing taxes does not become the go-to. I will work to improve public safety by ensuring our neighborhoods are zoned properly and that our drug and opioid epidemic is addressed. One death or one injury from this is one too many. I will also work to bring back accountability and transparency to county government through respect of our bidding processes and ensuring all billing and invoices are clear and detailed. I will work to ensure our resources are identified and managed properly. I will also bring back public comment to commissioner meetings where comments can be made throughout the meeting. This is something promised but was not delivered.
Thank you. Okay, and moving on to our questions. The first question, and this is for all 3 of you, we'll begin with Elizabeth. Do you support collective bargaining for county employees? Why or why not?
That is a good question. I do support our county employees fully, from first responders to even part-time county employees, which is why I also believe we need to address the rate of pay for part-time county employees. As far as collective bargaining, I would support that as long as it was given an option to everyone participating, that they could participate in the process if they chose to or not. I don't believe that it should be forced, but it should be an individual choice. Our county employees deserve to know that we support them and respect them from all levels of government.
Okay, thank you. And Sheila, same question.
I do support collective bargaining. I'm the daughter of a union millwright, and I was a former union member when I was a teacher. Our county employees have been one of the most amazing discoveries of the last 3 years of this job. During the COVID pandemic, those folks rose to the occasion. They just worked so creatively and innovatively. Most of them are underpaid. Many of them are underpaid. We currently are trying to work with our council members to ask for a salary study so we can try to really figure out how do we solve this problem so it doesn't keep building up. I believe collective bargaining is a good tool. When it's needed, it should be used, and I know that the Sheriff's Department, for example, is discussing it. I have no problem with collective bargaining. I've worked in a union environment. I've been on both sides of the table. It's not a problem for me.
Thank you. And Nathan Patrick, do you support collective bargaining for county employees? Why or why not?
So collective bargaining has to be something that's made available. If it's a choice, people deserve the right to choose what they want and what they don't want. It's about providing the information necessary on the different benefits and the incentives of doing it. As Commissioner Bergeron mentioned, that the Sheriff's Department started implementing it in different ways, so I'd be interested in seeing the studies behind it and how it's working for them and how we can maximize it, how it'd be good and or what are the pros and cons and how can we bring it forth to our county employees. Now, I do feel as though if we were concerned about bringing pay raises to our county employees, we would have done so in such a way like, I don't know, for the fact that when we sell something, like for example, the county home, and we can sell something like that, make a profitable income on it for the county, and give it back to the county people. For example, we could have gave it to the county employees, but that didn't happen. So.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to our second question. It's the same question for all 3 of you. If elected, what would you do to increase the efficiency, transparency, and effectiveness of our county government system? And we'll begin with Nathan.
Can you please repeat the question?
If elected, what would you do to increase the efficiency, transparency, and effectiveness of our county government system?
So that's a simple question. It's all about, first of all, like you said, the accountability part of that. So a lot of people, they automatically run on this statement, I'm going to implement, or I'm going to be the beacon of accountability and transparency and X, Y, and Z. But none of them, they don't implement those things. In order to implement accountability and transparency, you have to have a history of having accountability and transparency, and not just when it suits you. You have to understand that this isn't a position that you're taking for personal gain. This is something you're representing the people's tax dollars. You need to be accountable. So if someone asks you a question, like I really appreciated the comment from Councilman Novick. He says, my phone is always on. I answer my phone. Because if a county taxpayer has a question, it's your job to answer it, period. So you have to be more on purpose. You have to do it on purpose. So it's about, it's not like I can say, hey, you're going to be accountable. We're going to do this. You have to be on purpose by showing it. Your actions speak louder than your words.
Thank you. And Elizabeth, do you want me to repeat the question?
If I understand it, it's how will I bring back efficiency, transparency, and accountability to county government?
Okay, well, how will you increase it?
How will I increase it? I think one accountability is, as has been said, being responsible to your county. It is being there. It is being transparent. I am currently the only candidate that has a working website that tells you up front, and I have since August, what I want to do as commissioner. That is part of being accountable. As a Medicaid waiver case manager, I'm accountable to 53 individuals and their teams, which means I'm available 24/7. We need to bring accountability back by holding our county vendors, those who give us bills to pay, to a higher standard. We would not tolerate what's been going on in county government, in the real world, and in business. We need detailed and transparent billing from all vendors, from anyone billing the county, to be reviewed and be able to be reviewed thoroughly to determine we're going to pay all of it, some of it, or we need more information. And that has not been happening. We need to be accountable for our current resources and understand their future potential, and to be there for all residents of the county.
Thank you. And Sheila.
Thank you. Great question. When I took over in 2019, the county website had not been updated in over 2 decades. So one of our first actions, and again, working closely with the council, we got funding to redo the county website so that people could get accurate information. They could go to the website and get some services. They would have a up-to-date resource. We need to keep working on that. We have a super user group that is updates the website. But I've seen, for example, City of LaPorte is doing a lot of things with Facebook Live. I think there's opportunities for us to increase the ability for people to be able to watch our meetings, watch all of the county meetings from their cell phone, for example. One of my opponents has discussed county bills. I guarantee you the bills are itemized. They are itemized and they are reviewed. So there's a lot of political gibberish out there. A lot of it is not factual. I can guarantee you that Mr. Novak, who is the head of the fiscal body, reviews bills, and so does the Commissioner's office. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question, again for all three of you. How well do you think the finances of the county are currently being managed? What can be done to improve them? And we'll begin with Sheila.
So the commission isn't the fiscal arm. The council is the fiscal arm. So I want to be really careful of respecting their role. There's a saying that the commission proposes and the council disposes, and that's a checks and balances, it works really well. We meet often in executive session and in workshop sessions with the county council. So when we have ideas, we have to go to them and say, we have an idea. We want to institute a program. How do we do that? So they will fund things or deny us. I think it's really important to note that the commission cannot spend money without the council's approval. Everything down to the purchasing of equipment, property, everything has a checks and balance. The commission proposes and the council then makes the decision.
Thank you. And Elizabeth.
I believe a good way to handle our county finances, again, county council does control our finances, However, we as commissioners have to understand the resources that we have, their potential, their value, and how to use them appropriately and manage them appropriately. And if to sell them appropriately. We need to make sure that when we have contracts done for county vendors or outside county employees, we are using a third party to review them, to ensure that we have a contract that is appropriate. We need to make sure that when we look at our first responders and we look at their salary, even though as a commissioner I may not, quote unquote, as I've heard, control the purse strings, I have a voice that many do not have outside of government to ensure that I stand up for and represent and speak out and champion for our first responders. So while the county council does control finances, commissioners do have a voice and an audience.
Thank you. And Nathan, do you want me to repeat the question?
So, we may not control, we're not the financial arm, the council is, but we do have control over what we propose to the council to be voted on. Now, as far as controlling finances or proposing what we want to, what we would like to see implemented, and speaking and having those conversations with the council and different things like that, first and foremost, you have those conversations with your constituents. What are the constituents wanting to see with their money? It's their money. For example, you don't have anyone else coming in governing your own personal finances in your home. You have the conversation with your spouse or a significant other, right? So there's no one else coming in saying, you're going to do this, you're going to do this, you're going to do this. So that's, for that same example right there would be us saying, we're going to propose this. Have you had that conversation with your constituents? Are they in support of that? So it's what you're proposing to be brought up, to be voted on, to change the financial structure of the county.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to the next question, again for all three of you, and we're going to begin with Nathan. How much does political party information and doctrine influence your viewpoints? Nathan.
So, if political what'd you say, infiltration?
Information and doctrine.
Infiltration. That's what it is. It's infiltration for some people. Because what happens is they say to you, this is our platform and this is what you have to do, and if you don't abide by it, you're done. I was just talking to a candidate for State 04 and for State Senate seat. And it was the perfect conversation because it's what I've always ran off of and what I've always exemplified and exuded in my life. The person, not the party. For example, this just about 2 hours ago, I ran into a person who's running for Democrat position for State Senate seat. I have never met the guy from Adam and Eve. He seems like a good guy. I did a little background research on him. He's a pretty decent guy. He needed help with something, putting his signs out. He's a Democrat. I'm a Republican. The Republican says, you're not supposed to be doing that, right? It's about the person, not the party. Who are you as a person? So if your party affiliations don't line up with that of you being a human being, then something's wrong.
Thank you. And Elizabeth.
I believe that today we are led to believe that everything is black or white. For me, I tend to live in, or believe, most of us live in the gray. I do not think that there is anyone in here that would say it has to be one way or the other, and if we don't agree, then we just keep fighting. I want to be the commissioner that works for all of the residents, that represents all of the residents of LaPorte County. Whether that's red, blue, left, right, Democrat, Republican. Like Mr. Novak said, when you're elected, it's about what is best for our county. Everyone is nuanced in their beliefs and their political views, and I encourage everyone to check out ActiVote. It is a great website that lets you see where you fall in that spectrum. I will serve the people of LaPorte County regardless of their party. My values may align and do align with the Republican Party. However, I will do what is best for our county.
Thank you. And Sheila.
Thank you. The party is the vehicle to get elected in our democracy. That is the way you use the party system. Once the election is over, you work for everyone. You work for people in all parts of the county, whether they are in your neighborhood or in far south county. My job is to represent everyone. And no matter where I am in this county, I don't sit in the commissioner's office a lot, but I do travel around the county. I pull over and I talk to my constituents. I'm sitting in a farm field, next to a farm field, working on county business. It's about getting out there and talking to people and representing them, regardless of what neighborhood, what party, whether they are right or left. They are residents of LaPorte County and they deserve to be represented. Thank you.
Thank you. And one final question, probably very short answers to this one. Can all sessions of the commission meetings be on Zoom? Elizabeth.
I believe in a hybrid meeting forum. If you are comfortable or only can meet and go to the meeting as a member of the public on Zoom, that option should absolutely be available. If you want to appear in person, that option should be available. However, for commissioners, they have a duty to their county and they cannot hide behind a television screen or Zoom. They need to be present. They need to be there. We hear public comment is welcome, but public comment is not welcome throughout the meeting. It's there in the beginning. It's not there after every topic. It's supposed to be, but it's not. Public comment in the rules is said, well, if it's repetitive or frivolous, we're not going to allow it. Who determines that? So for commissioners, they should be at every commissioner meeting in person. The public should have the option to attend in person or via Zoom.
Thank you. Sheila.
So the pandemic had some silver linings. And one of the silver linings is that people who might have been low tech at the beginning all learned how to use Zoom. So Zoom is now a verb, I guess. You zoom here and you zoom there. So it's a great thing. I think it's increased the ability for our constituents to participate, to hear what's going on, to try to understand what the decision points are, what the dollars are, what the issues are. And so for me, Zoom, although the pandemic seems to be receding, Zoom is here to stay. And as far as I'm concerned, we should have all of our meetings available via Zoom. Right now, the commission agenda has a Zoom link at the bottom of each agenda, so that the public are welcome. We have ample capacity for as many people that wish to participate. Please feel free to do so. Thank you.
Thank you. And Nathan.
It's a perfect question. I'm dealing with this right now on the Michigan City Housing Authority as a commissioner, where we have commissioners hiding behind the Zoom, hiding, not showing their faces, calling on phone calls, voting, not being present physically in where you can see them. So they're hiding. So as far as for commissioners, if you should be present. If you can be present, if you're able-bodied and you can be present and the doors can be open, you should be present. Now, of course, the public should be able to come in if they are able to be present to those meetings if that's what they would like to do. Now, I do agree that Zoom is just one more tool that can be used to allow people and allow concerned citizens who can't be present in body, they can be present in Zoom. But as far as commissioners, I feel as though you should be present and be accessible so that we can implement some of that good accountability and transparency that was mentioned earlier. So.
Thank you. And now we'll ask for closing statements from each of you, and we'll begin with Sheila Matias, the Democratic candidate for County Commission District 1. Sheila.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for listening. It has been an honor and a privilege to serve this community over the years. Some of you remember when I was a 30-something councilwoman with lots of great ideas, and then I served as mayor, where I took my position very seriously. I got out of politics, so there's been some criticism that I'm a career politician. Career politicians are people who make all their money and all of their focus of their life on ambition and power, and that's certainly not me. I'm an educator. I work at Purdue Northwest. I head up the Leadership Institute and the Society of Innovators. I love serving people. I love taking care of people. I love solving problems, and I really hope that you will trust me one more time to do the right thing for you. I take care of your tax dollars as if they were running a household. You know that you only have this much, and you need to figure out how to spread it around and make sure you're meeting all your needs. That's what I find has brought me great pleasure in my life as a public servant, and I ask for your vote one more time. Sheila Matias for County Commissioner. Thank you.
Thank you. And now Elizabeth Bergeron, Republican candidate for County Commission District 1.
I want to thank the League of Women Voters for hosting this forum and providing an opportunity for all of us to hear from the candidates that are running to serve LaPorte County. It's time we elect people who will work to serve the county and all residents. I will work for LaPorte County, a message I have shared since August 2021. I will work for the people of LaPorte County and not for those who think they run LaPorte County. I will work to grow our county through job and economic growth, improve public safety, and bring back accountability and transparency. I'm the only primary candidate with a working website that details what I will do as commissioner. I'm not the candidate that will make the voters seek me out and hunt down my information, but I offer it willingly and proudly. You can learn more about me at lizbergeron.com or on Facebook at Liz for LaPorte County. I will be here after the forum for any questions, and I thank you for your support and vote on or before May 3rd. Thank you.
Thank you, Elizabeth. And now Nathan Patrick, Republican candidate for County Commission District 1.
Thank you. It's simple. Who do you think will fight for you like you will fight for you? That's who we all want in our representatives. If you're sitting down and you're looking at a TV screen or you're reading the paper and you say, I would have done that differently, or I wish there was an avenue where I could have gone and voiced how I would have done that, who do you think will fight for you like you will fight for you? That's what it comes down to. It's also in that person, not the party, and also it's the history, the actions. Your actions speak louder than your words. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. And so thank you, candidates, for joining us tonight at this forum. You may be...
I don't get a closing.
Oh, I am sorry. No,
like
you
to
don't.
join in on
I tried to include you.
Do I get it? You can give me 1 minute. Do I get a say or no?
Because you're uncontested.
No? I'm going to need a ruling from the judge.
Okay.
Oh,
Okay, well, thank you all for joining us tonight.
thank you.
We're going to get started now, and when Todd Connor comes in the room, he'll have to take his seat over here by his name. And welcome to all of the candidates now for state races that are here tonight. We have candidates for State Representative District 09 and also for State Senate District 04. And we're going to begin with the two candidates for State Representative. They are both uncontested in the primary, and so they will be giving a 2-minute opening statement, but they won't be taking questions or giving a closing statement. But we welcome Deon Bergeron, the Republican candidate for State Rep District 9, and Pat Boy, the Democratic candidate for State Rep District 9. We'll begin with Deon.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for hosting this event, and thank you for attending. I'm Deon Bergeron, and I'm running for State Representative District 9. Do you feel represented in Indianapolis? When they create policies and laws, do they reflect your beliefs and opinions? Is your state representative open and easily available? Do they respond to messages or calls? Is your representative doing all that they can to get economic development to this area? Are they getting state dollars to our communities? If your answer to any of these questions is no, then the solution is obvious. Vote Bergeron. I will work with the state and local businesses to bring our share of the over $20 billion Indiana collects every year in taxes to District 9 to create real and lasting economic development. You can reach me anytime via phone or email, and I respond directly. I don't ignore your calls or pass them to my assistant. I also host a political podcast called Deon's Daily Dose. It's on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, and I'm available live, and anyone can join in the conversation. My opponent is finishing their second term. 4 years they've had in this position to improve the lives of everyone in District 9. 4 years of voting history, 4 years of opportunity to bring economic development here. Are you better off than you were 4 years ago? How many economic achievements have we in District 9 celebrated in those 4 years? The reality is that the modern Democratic Party leadership has shown what they're about, and it isn't you or me. It's special interests, woke and mega corporations, and they've forgotten regular Americans. It's gotten so bad that you can tell someone's political party if they just have an American flag in front of their home, which I do. If you tell the truth, you're called names and vilified. If you don't immediately agree with the message, you're labeled this or that and hated by people with more volume than sense. Enough is enough. Vote them out. Bergeron 2022. You can find out more at dionbergeron.com or find me on social media, Dion for Indiana. Thank you.
Thank you. And Pat Boy, the Democratic candidate for State Representative District 9.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for being here tonight, and thank you to the League of Women Voters for conducting this tonight, because I know how much work it is. My name is Pat Boy. I'm the Democratic candidate for the State House of Representatives. District 9 has been changed by the redistricting process, and it will extend now from Chesterton, the Pines and Beverly Shores, south to Jackson Township in Porter County, and from Cool Spring Township north through Michigan City and east through Springfield and Galena Townships. I have served two-year terms in this position as one of 29 Democrats against 100 Republicans who have passed whatever they wanted. I have authored or co-authored a lot of bills, from raising the minimum wage to protecting workers to voting rights to protecting the environment. I have plans to do the same next session. My goal is and has always been to work for social, environmental, and economic justice for all. Previous experience included 4 terms on the City Council here in Michigan City from 2004 to 2019, where I wrote the ordinances to create the Commission for Women and the Veterans Commission. I helped in the creation of the Sustainability Commission, which passed after I left the council for my current position. I worked on budgets, redistricting, and code revision. I'm the oldest of 8 kids, daughter of 2 World War II Marine sergeants from Chicago. I started working at age 12 as a babysitter, earning enough money to pay for my first car in cash. My first real job was part-time at a grocery store, where I worked throughout high school and college and full-time after graduation, and I was later promoted to service manager. In 1977, we moved to Indiana, where our son was born. We chose Michigan City as our home and bought our first and only house here. My husband became a quadriplegic due to a car accident, and I became his only home health care giver. I couldn't go back to work, so we started a 24-hour business at home, employing 6 neighbors. And I closed it down after his death. I'm no stranger to hard work. I'm unopposed for the primary election, but I ask for your vote in the general in November. Thank you.
Thank you. And now the 2 candidates that are here that just gave their opening statements, you may stay here if you wish, or you can go back into the audience if you prefer that. So, okay, should have done that for Randy Novak. Sorry. Okay, thank you. And now we have 5 candidates tonight for State Senate District 04. That is Jeffrey Larson, one of the 2 Republican candidates, and then all 4 of the Democratic candidates: Deborah Chubb, Todd Connor, Ron Meir, and Rodney Pohl. So welcome all of you tonight. Thank you all for coming. Thank you. And we will begin with 2-minute opening statements. We'll begin with Jeff Larson.
Thank you. I hope they didn't leave because I smell bad, but I'm the only one on this side of the room that know. I'm running for Senate because I've been a member of this community my entire life, all 61 years. I have a vote out here in the harbor. I grew up in Chesterton. I've been a responsible citizen and served my community from the day I started. I got the Tylene Chamber Award in 2019 for Volunteer of the Year. I served on the County Council in Porter County for 4 years, where we put all that hospital money that had been just sitting dormant. We invested it and made $76 million in the 16 months that we had that money invested. Government has had many opportunities to do a lot of really good things, and we just haven't done it. And I forged ahead trying to do the right thing. We're going to continue to run into brick walls until we get the right people in the right places. And that's the reason I'm running for Senate today. Thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you, Jeff. And now for our Democratic candidates, we'll begin with Deborah Chubb.
Thank you. And thanks to the League for carrying on this honorable tradition of nonpartisan candidate forums. It's really a benefit to the community. My name is Deb Chubb. I'm running for State Senate. I am an attorney, and I practiced here. I grew up in this area. I've lived in the district my entire life, and went to law school at Valpo. I had a law practice here for several years in Michigan City, and then took a position as a nonprofit leader, and grew a small organization that was providing high-quality early childhood education and care to about 25 young children into a very large program that served almost 500 children. I did that for 17 years, and along the way wrote millions of dollars worth of grants to fund very innovative programs and to provide access to people of all income levels to high-quality early childhood education. I also served on the executive committee for Save the Dunes for 10 years, spent 3 years as president. I was a co-founder of the Northwest Indiana Citizen Climate Lobby Group. I started Indiana Association for the Education of Young Children chapter here, and I've also been elected to the school board here in Michigan City 3 times. I've served 9 years so far. I was one of the founding members of the Michigan City Commission for Women, as well as the Michigan City Commission on Sustainability. I've been a member of, an officer and president of League of Women Voters in LaPorte County for several years, and have been involved in many more years. I think what we need in the State House now is someone who has this vast depth of knowledge about the issues in this community. This is what I take to the State House. I've been there many times advocating for both environmental and early childhood education programs. Thanks.
Thank you, Deborah. And next, Todd Connor.
Wonderful. Well, I want to thank the League of Women Voters, and I want to thank all the candidates who are here, including the candidates up here with me, for your willingness to step forward and to serve and to put your talents on the line and your reputation on the line because you think that you have something to offer. So hats off to everyone who's here. My name is Todd Connor, and I'm running for State Senate. I want to just give a couple points of background and then share a little bit about why I think I can do something unique for us here in Northwest Indiana as our representative in the State House. By way of background, I'm a Hoosier by choice. I came here, I moved here, I did not grow up here. But we came here, my husband and I, and our, years ago, and now with our 2-year-old son, adopted son, because we see something special in Northwest Indiana, because we see a quality of life, because we see the natural environment, because we see opportunity. And we've fallen in love with Northwest Indiana, and have made it a home because we see these things. We also opened up a business here called Emerson House, just sort of up the road, that we also see as a place of opportunity. We've had that business for 4 years. Prior to all this, I started an organization after serving in the United States Navy called Bunker Labs, and it's an organization that helps military veterans start businesses. And we started that as an idea and scaled it to an organization that operates in 45 different cities across the country, including Indianapolis, including Chicago, including online programs that people in this community are accessing. And what I can tell you when you start something with a vision about what's possible and you see it scale to 40 cities and you see entrepreneurs become wildly successful as a result, you get an eye for opportunity. And I'm going to make an argument that if you want to see big things happen in this region, find someone, elect someone who has done big things. I have a big vision for what's possible here, and I want to spend some time sharing more on that, but I just appreciate the chance to be at the forum. Thank you.
Thank you. And Ron Meir.
Good evening, everyone. I am Ron Meir, and I'm a lifelong resident of Northwest Indiana. I am a former 2-term mayor of Michigan City, 2 terms on the city council, and served on variety of other boards and commissions. I believe that I will be what I would consider a full-time Indiana state senator if elected and when elected. I would be available all the time. I don't have any other side occupations, no side jobs, no other commitments to boards or other commissions. I can focus solely on being a senator. I come from a union family. I was raised, my father, grandfather, uncles, and cousins, many cousins, Local 531, International Brotherhood of Electricians. So I've been raised around unions all my life and have supported unions. Matter of fact, all of the major projects that were done over 8 years here in Michigan City were all done by union labor and tradesmen. So it's very important that I wanted to emphasize that I will be full-time. My full focus would be on being a senator and no other side occupations. I think one of the biggest things that people are looking for as I travel throughout the 4th District talking to people is infrastructure. Our streets, our roads, our highways, the flooding in the streets in South Haven and in Portage and here and even in Michigan City. But it's going to be important that that person that's in that position can deliver and knows what the towns and the counties and the cities need. And mayors do. They know what the residents back in the neighborhoods need. And what it is we've got to get that state funding. For instance, things like community crossings. That needs to be quadrupled in the state of Indiana, those monies. And all of the now federal infrastructure dollars has to be brought back into the local communities in the 4th District. Thank you.
Thank you. And Rodney Pohl.
Thank you. I want to thank the League of Women Voters for hosting this tonight, everybody for coming out. It's really important. I'm Senator Rodney Pohl. I was born and raised here in Northwest Indiana, proud union family, blue-collar family. I replaced Senator Tylene as the state senator last October after a caucus election. If you recall, Senator Tylene, she was a legendary legislator. She cared about this district very, very much. She was meticulous and she was thoughtful in all of her actions. So much so that she interviewed all of us, or she knew all of us on this stage before she made her decision as to who she wanted to support. And she wanted to support me for a couple of different reasons. Because of my background and my experience, both as a public servant, working in public education throughout this entire state, working in the criminal justice system, working in local government, which is incredibly important in this position, as a city attorney here in Northwest Indiana. She wanted to support me because of my support for the unions and our teachers. And I'm proud to serve now as the youngest senator and the first Latino to ever serve in the state Senate. I'm proud that we finally have some representation in Indiana from the Latino community. After my first session, I earned the support of our labor unions, our building trades, the USW, the American Federation of Teachers, the Professional Firefighters Association, and that's because of how hard I fought for them in my first session. It's not just about who supports you, but it's also about what you support and what you can get done, particularly in the super minority in Indianapolis. My bipartisan efforts brought quality of life measures that included addressing the opioid epidemic, addressing our shortages with our education support staff, coal ash regulation and disposal, helping our vets get better services here in the state, and then also just trying to defeat some very bad bills that were coming out of the Republican agenda. I'm very, very proud of the work that we were able to do, and I hope I can go back down and finish it because I'm only getting started.
Thank you. Okay, and this is a question now for all 5 of the candidates. When an issue comes up for voting, how will you balance your decision between your personal convictions and your constituents, especially when there is a conflict? And we'll begin with Jeff.
Well, I'll do as I did on the council and all the other positions I've ever served in, including my classroom where I was an educator for 20 years. The only way to effectively lead is to consider everyone's opinion in that discussion. It's not a decision made on your background or another individual's background, but it's always a collaboration with everyone that's a party to that. And if you've ever taught in a classroom or been near a classroom, you understand how that works. kids in general have individual ideas that they want to express, but without the support of the teacher, they never get those opportunities. And so that's how I'll go down, and that's how I'll treat the school.
Thank you. And Rodney.
Obviously, as in this position, you are being sent to Indianapolis to represent your constituency, and that's always first and foremost the most important aspect of it. I think throughout history, though, that there are times where we've had to stand up, despite a majority, maybe pushing for a specific issue because of the impact potentially on individual liberty, potentially on dignity. So I think that it really comes down to what this particular issue is, but ultimately, what is going to be for the greater good. So.
Thank you. And next is Ron Mayer.
Well, exactly. You're going down to Indianapolis to be in a leadership role. So you're expected to make decisions. And that's the big part of, you'll hear a lot of times the term leadership. But leading is making those decisions, making those tough decisions. And in the reference to a conflict of interest, I suspect it would depend on what that is. There could even be a situation where a candidate may have to abstain from a vote if there was a conflict of interest. But I think the emphasis is what's the interest of your constituents? What's in their best interest? What do they want for the vast majority? Because, people have to understand that you represent everyone, but everyone doesn't have the same opinion, not even in this audience. So that's the crucial part, is you're in a leadership role, you're going to have to make some strong decisions, but you have to make the decisions.
Thank you. Thank you, Ron. And Todd.
I would say process matters, and having a transparent and engaged electorate has to be a commitment of our elected officials. It's hard to know what the will of the electorate is if you aren't engaged with the will of the electorate. I've knocked on 2,000 doors these last 2 months, and when you listen to people, they are underinformed about who their elected officials are, about what the issues are, and you have to have a sincere desire to get out and earn the support of the voters. I think that's the only way that you can understand what the will of the electorate is, because too often information channels have been atrophied, and so that's a challenge that we have as elected officials. So the question becomes, how do you elect elected officials who can creatively create the forums to better engage with folks, and then to stand up and take the heat when you're going to have votes and talk about why you made the votes that you did. We as Democrats have to push back against the culture wars. This isn't in the interest of what Indiana Hoosiers want. It's unproductive, and we have to stand up and be more clear about our views on those things.
Okay, thank you. And Deborah.
So as an attorney, I spent a lot of time advocating for others' interests. That was part of the profession. As a nonprofit leader, I advocated for the interests of families for many years. And as a local community organizer and activist, I've spent a lot of time learning how to work collaboratively and build coalitions. And that is a skill that I bring down to the State House that can be used to find consensus on many of the issues that are somewhat divisive now. Of course, many of the bills that are filed in the State House are intended only to be divisive, are not intended to serve anyone, just really intended to polarize people. And again, that's a skill that I will bring, is my ability to build coalitions and bring people together and collaborate.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Okay, and moving on to the next question, and this is for all 5 of you. Please assess the bills that passed just recently in the state legislature. Which are you pleased with? Which are you not? And we'll begin with Todd.
So, bills that unlock funding and create resources for Northwest Indiana are good bills. Bills that pull those resources back are bad bills. Bills that are clickbait for the sake of earning bona fides with an ideological wing of either party are bad bills. Bills that are driven with a sense of consensus and a desire to not just win polarized wins, but to do things that are actually productive, are good bills. So, you know, I think as we look back on the session, I know there's a lot of legislative activity. It's a short session. We can, you know, talk about the importance of you know, a number of the specific bills, but I think that the broad frame here has to be, how are we hearing about and learning about what the bills are and having a chance to react to those things. But what we ultimately want is just a productive legislature that is doing things that's in the interest of communities, for schools, for teachers, and it boils down to resources. We've got a Republican state that believes that the way to make the state viable is just to be good to business, but we've got the sequence flipped. We've got to invest in people, and that's through resources.
Thank you. And Deborah.
I'll talk about one good bill that passed this time, and I want to give a big shout out to my friend, State Representative Sue Arrington, who spent many years trying to change the rape statutes in our state that really would protect women. Before this bill was passed, if you could not show physical injury or threat of injury or incapacitation, prosecutors would not prosecute your rape case. So women were traumatized, and then of course traumatized again, going to the hospital to undergo very intrusive examinations, asked what they were wearing, what they drank, and then after all of that, sat with a prosecutor who said, you can't, we're not going to prosecute. We know who it is, but we're not going to prosecute. Sue Arrington, with the help of other women, Representation Matters, got a bill passed to redefine the statute to require affirmative consent. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Deborah. And Jeffrey.
Well, I'm going to jump off a cliff first. First, I think there was some stuff that were passed. One of the gun legislation laws that I'm not entirely in support of, and that was the permitting process being eliminated. I would recommend it a cooling off period, just because I think there's a certain circumstance where everyone can own a gun in the state of Indiana, but everyone shouldn't own a gun in the state of Indiana. So there's some regulations that got passed that I believe, now I know there's some good things that happened in the last session, some clean water actions, some as women's rights actions, and some defense of veterans. So,
Jeff, I'm sorry, can you just restart the clock? The microphone is on.
Oh, I'm sorry, it's my fault.
Okay.
I'll start over. Gun legislation was one of the ones that I was really upset about, and I will probably take that as a hit being a Republican. But the reality is that I don't believe everyone should have the option of carrying a weapon. There's too many people that have abused that opportunity. There are too many things that have happened in our life and that we have seen that have been tragic based on weapon possession. Do I think that it's everyone's legal and right to own a weapon? Absolutely. But again, not everyone should have a weapon. So there were some positives in women's groups' support of women. There were some things that happened in legislation to improvement of roads. I served on the NERC board, and there were some monies that were let up here so that we can do some investment, some opportunities for additional recreation. But all in all, there's still a lot of work to do. So thank you very much.
Thank you. And Rod.
So as you review the bills in the last session and many times what's attached to a bill, it was very important. I think a lot of the ones that were important to me were some that were based on environmental things, particularly in protection of waters, Lake Michigan, tributaries, because we live here in Northwest Indiana, and Lake Michigan is so crucial and so important to the future of our region. But also infrastructure bills, anything that was going to help with help counties and cities and towns, that would help with bridges, highways, roads, stormwater projects, wastewater treatment plant upgrades, things that these are all infrastructure things, just like roads and highways are and streets. So that was very important, those type of things. And always there's going to be at the state level these social issues that are debated amongst the different parties. But I mean, I believe very deeply in bipartisanship and working across party lines to get these issues addressed.
Thank you. Rodney.
Thank you. I think House Bill 1140 is a very important bill that got passed. It extends Medicaid coverage for moms and children after 12 months, up to 12 months after the child's actually born. Some of the other bills that came through that are great were Senate Bill 84, which will address our opioid epidemic. It's a bipartisan bill that I worked with Senator Larson on. Another bill that I worked with her on, Senate Bill 82, that's going to address higher education, trying to get more kids into higher education. I would say the bills that I had mentioned earlier, SR 38, 41, and 70 are great bills that address the education support staff shortages, our coal ash issue up here, and then in addition, the bill aimed at helping our veterans get services better. But this session was actually a lot about what we can kill, or what we were able to kill, which was 1269, an anti-PLA, anti-local control bill, 1134, which is a terrible education bill, 11.7, or sorry, and in addition to that, the constitutional carry bill that Jeff had mentioned.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to the next question, again for all 5 of you. How do you plan to work across the aisle to keep Northwest Indiana from being shut out? And we will begin with Rodney.
Well, I pride myself on bipartisanship and working across party lines. I think it's obvious that Republicans are the supermajority downstate, but you need to be at the table with them. And even though there will have differences in some things, some issues, you need to be at the table. You can't be sitting at the little table on the side. You need to be in the conversations with them. And I have a proven track record of working cross party lines at all levels, federal, state, local. And a great example of that is the double tracking that you see happening throughout Northwest Indiana right now. Michigan City was a big part of that. Our leadership back in 2014 when I was mayor then, working with the governor then, and then later on Governor Holcomb, and you see those millions and millions of dollars being invested in Northwest Indiana right now. And that only happened because it worked across party lines and people were willing to set aside some of these other differences in order to get things accomplished. Thank you.
Thank you. Todd Connor.
You have to be willing to work across party lines to get things done, and you have to be able to set identities aside to get things done. I think part of my question for you all is sort of how we envision what we think the role of a state senator or a state representative is. And if we see it as simply someone that goes and sort of casts votes, then we're on the losing side of a lot of issues here in Northwest Indiana. If we see it as a platform to step into leadership to help articulate what could be for Northwest Indiana, then I think we can raise the stakes as to what's possible and have a greater ambition for what I think can happen in Northwest Indiana. And I think people that can speak the language of business, which is the world that I come from, particularly with the Republican supermajority, I think can get things done. We have to make the business case clear about what the economic development opportunities are in Northwest Indiana, and then we have to have leadership at the table that the business community is excited to bring alongside because they see it as an asset for what can actually be delivered here in Northwest Indiana.
Thank you. And Deborah Chubb.
So I mentioned before, I have a long track record of working collaboratively in the community, bringing people together, creating coalitions both locally and statewide. And I think that speaks to my ability to bring people together. And as Todd mentioned, a lot of it is the language. When you're talking to people who come from another party, you have to use their language. And I grew up in an entrepreneurial family. I'm very familiar with business and the challenges that small business owners face. And I think that gives me a good language, as well as seeking out people who do agree on certain things. There are Republicans who are interested in the environment, and there are Republicans who are interested in infrastructure. And as we found out with the bill that I was just discussing, there are women Republicans who are also interested in women's issues. So you can find the people that come along on those issues, and using the right language and your collaborative skills, bring them together.
Okay, thank you. And Jeffrey Larson.
I think I'd like to follow up on what Ms. Chubb said, and that was that I don't think you identify individuals by party. I think we've talked about this evening. I've heard other candidates say it. I think you identify people by the ability to work together and what they bring to the table. You know, none of us in this room would know where we stood unless we started questioning each other on our backgrounds or our beliefs. And I think when you take that as a whole, you can get a lot done without actually knowing that person deeply and personally. And working with people, even like working with children, the reality of it is you approach every one of them individually. You give each person the opportunity to express their vision and their thoughts, and just listen. And that's really what a leader does, is they listen, they accumulate thought processes, they accumulate information, and then they act on it. And that's what I'll do as state senator. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, and Rodney.
Could I have Senator Mike Bahachik answer my question for me?
No.
He'll tell you. When I got down there, a lot of folks were like, "You operate exactly how Senator Tylene would, where you use that legal experience where you can sit down with somebody's proposed bill, and you can work with them, and even if you ultimately end up voting against it, you try to make their bill better." And that relationship building that I was able to do in that first session, I think, spoke volumes across the aisle, where I was able to get some of these things that I'd already discussed done because of the trust and the relationships that I built with from across the aisle. So much so that my friend Senator Bahachik and I, we were just in LaPorte County at the LaPorte County Council meeting last week, addressing a local issue here. Those are the relationships that when you build them, you start working for your community. You start working for Northwest Indiana. You're not working for your party. You're not working for yourself. You're working for all of us in our district, and I'm incredibly proud of that.
Okay, thank you. Okay, our next question, a bit more specific now, and we're going to begin with Todd Connor on this. According to the Sierra Club, Indiana ranks 50th in drinkable and swimmable waterways. What environmental proactive legislation would you support, Todd?
Thank you, Bonnie. And it's worse than that. We're 49th for toxic chemical release. We're the legal kind of litigation environment to go after polluters is de minimis in many cases. So we have a culture that I think has confused what it means to be pro-business at the expense of being pro-environment. I think that's a false choice, but it's a choice that Indiana has made too often. I've been a Sierra Club member since 2007, so this is not sort of a flippant talking point, but we have to center Northwest Indiana's future around protection and expansion of the environment. Some of this is simple. It's the Scouts honor, leave it better than you found it. Coal ash reserves that have not been funded for cleanup is absolutely something that companies need to be held accountable for. Too often this is incurred by taxpayer dollars when companies don't do the right thing. Too often beyond that, it's happening in black and brown communities that also are under-resourced to take care of these kinds of issues. So it's not terribly complicated. We all value the environment. It's the key to our economic future in this region, and we have to be proactive and do better than we're doing today.
Thank you. And Deborah Chubb.
So I've been deeply involved in many environmental issues here in this Senate district. Everything from the J Pit and Gary to the coal ash lagoons here in Michigan City. So I think water is so, there's nothing you can say that isn't as important. So this is something that I've been working on for a long time. I still sit on the League of Women Voters multi-state board that has delegates from the 4 Lake Michigan states, and all we do is work on maintaining the health of Lake Michigan. And of course at Save the Dunes we did that a lot. This is our drinking water, and this is our children's health. So there's nothing more important than this. So we will have to take proactive steps. It is, I think a lot of it is education. I think other legislators do not understand how you maintain high water quality. Much of it is through wetlands, which are not being protected as they should. So I would say that would be my first priority, is bringing back protection for wetlands.
Thank you, Deborah. And Jeffrey Larson.
Well, I think first is we limit permit accessibility to some of the companies that are largest violators, and we know who those people are. it's probably unusual for a Republican to speak out against that, but I enjoy the lakes as everyone else, and the water quality out here has improved, but it's definitely not where it needs to be. Secondly, when I was in the county, in county council in Porter County, we started a water treatment, stormwater and runoff board, and hired 2 engineers to keep tabs on what was going on in our own county. We've made great strides in Porter County by employing those people, and we actually gave them some teeth to actually go out and cite people that were violating those rules. And so it does start with the small communities and the small governance. It doesn't start with big municipalities, it starts with individuals. And so all of you play a role in that, and everyone that represents you plays a role in that. Thank you.
Thank you. Rodney, Pohl.
Well, I'm told, and I'm very proud of this, but I'm told that I have an A+ from the Sierra Club, and that was probably for some of the efforts that I pushed this session. I did have a bill that I proposed. It did not get a hearing, but I also ultimately got a resolution to address coal ash in Northwest Indiana throughout the entire state. We all know what happened in the town of Pines. We can't have wells there. You can't grow food there. And you know, the resolution that I had passed is, seeks to address this. And I went across the aisle, got bipartisan support from the other senators that have coal ash in their districts, and they took an interest in it. Now they're signing on, and it's just about building that coalition, but then also knowing what it is and what you actually are dealing with. So I've gone to American Water. I've gone and visited the water filtration plants. I've already met with U.S. Steel, and I've got meetings set up with Cleveland Cliffs. Getting engaged and getting as much possible knowledge before you actually go to to LSA and start just drafting. You have to know what these processes are, and as well as local control as well. I agree.
Thank you. And Ron Mayer.
Yes, I think I emphasized a little bit earlier about the importance of the environment, Lake Michigan, its tributaries, and once again, I have a proven track record of my environmental concerns and protecting the environment here in Northwest Indiana. Carwick Nature Park was an old landfill dump that we were able to get cleaned up. The trash was actually falling into the creek, at Trail Creek and the streams, and we did that through insurance mining. Didn't even cost the taxpayers any dollars to get that cleaned up. It was insurance mining of the people that had contaminated that area in the past. Also, a variety of brownfield projects that we did throughout LaPorte County. But to even go a step further, protecting the environment, when I worked at the Michigan City Sanitary District in the water treatment plant, I was able to report some polluting that the district actually was doing, and state, federal, local agencies raided the Michigan City Sanitary District. I was also lost my job for that, so I'll sacrifice a lot to protect things and tell the truth.
Thank you very much. Okay, our next question. Do you believe pre-K and K-12 school funding is adequate? And we are beginning with Deb Chubb.
Well, absolutely not. Like I said before, I've sat on our Michigan City School Board for 9 years now, and have a pretty good knowledge about school finance. When $300 million was cut from the school funding in 2010, we all took big hits. When I was first elected to the board, the first thing we had to do was to find a way to cut $4 million out of our budget. And it has not gotten better. We've never gotten that money back. I believe that we really do need to invest in education. It comes out on the other end in a poor economy. That's what happens when you don't invest in education. You end up with a workforce that is not skilled in high-tech jobs, and those kinds of companies do not come here. And kids go away to find other jobs. So I do think it should be increased, and I do believe that pre-K should be funded by the government as well. Thanks.
Thank you. Jeffrey Larson.
Well, I too agree with Deb. Pre-K should be a choice for everybody, and if they refuse and go into a private school, that is their option. I don't support increasing vouchers. I never have. I'm a public educator. My background was 20 years in the school corporation. I do think referendums are a possible tool for a lot of taxing districts. The reality is that the schools that have used them have done very well with them. I don't think that they work as well in the challenged communities where some of the funding is already restricted. we may have to find another funding tool for that. I went 8 years without a wage increase at Chesterton High School, so I know all too well that there is a need for additional monies to improve teacher salaries and their opportunities. So I think that would be something I'd like to work on if I was sent down to the Senate. Thank you.
Thank you. Rodney and Pohl.
Well, as the husband of a Michigan City school teacher and a Duman School Board member, and the son of a special education administrator, I can tell you absolutely is not sufficiently funded. Deb's absolutely right. The $300 million that got cut about a decade ago has decimated our public school systems. I don't believe referendums are going to be the answer either. I mean, we haven't had a referendum here in Michigan City. It failed in 2013. And, what we've seen from that is now I'm trying to pass bills and passing resolutions to try and address education support professionals at this point now, because we can't pay them enough to even make their insurance payments. You're looking at schools going back virtual, not because of COVID, but because they can't have enough staff in their actual schools. So I'd love to see investments in early childhood education. I would love to see us actually reverse course and make sure that we're actually adequately funding our education system here.
Okay, thank you. And Ron Meir.
Well, I think we're going to be unanimous on this answer that absolutely there needs to be more funding at all levels within the school system, but maybe particularly pre-K and kindergarten. My wife Agnes worked 14 years as a guest teacher here in Michigan City, so I have a lot of insight to that also, but also had the pleasure of working with Dr. Eason Watkins and Mark Franciconi, and who's over in LaPorte now, and gained a lot of internal knowledge about what the needs are at all aspects of the school corporation. And with Indiana having those large reserves that they have, I mean, I can't really think much better use of some of those reserve monies than bolstering our school systems throughout the state of Indiana. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. And Todd Connor.
Yeah, we are unanimous. Our schools and our teachers need more resources. 97% of districts in the state of Indiana report a teacher shortage or staffing challenges, and it's a function of resources. It's also a function of brain drain in the state, something that Deb hit on. The key to our economic future of the state is that you retain the talent that has grown up here that we've invested in, and that they choose to want to stay here. It's hard to pull that off when we have a reputation for going backwards on a number of issues. It's hard to keep talented 26-year-old women if we're flirting with the Texas abortion bill. I mean, forget where you're at on the moral kind of question of that. It's bad for business. And so how you invest in schools, how you invest in education, how you attract teachers, how we keep the folks that come through our education system, young people, to stay in the state of Indiana, these are things that are core to our economic development future. And I think these are the kind of arguments that we can be making in Indianapolis to get folks to sort of see that this isn't sort of frivolous spending. We've got the resources. It's a question of priorities in the state.
Okay, thank you very much. That's the final question that you have tonight. But I want to thank each and every one of you. Mr. Jeffrey Larson, Republican candidate for State Senate 04. And Mr. Rodney Pohl, Democratic candidate. Mr. Ron Meir, Democratic candidate. Todd Connor, Democratic candidate. And Deborah Chubb, Democratic candidate. Thank you all for being here tonight. And we'll start now with the 1-minute closing statements, and we will begin with Jeffrey.
Well, I'd like to thank all of you for attending tonight, and I've got a lot to offer here. I think that's one of the reasons I've stayed involved in so many things in my life. The secret to being a solid leader and a strong leader is understanding the people that you're working for and listening. And hopefully, if you guys give me the opportunity to be your senator, those will be the things that I'll practice and we'll work on in getting things changed here for us in the north part of the state. Thank you.
as somebody who grew up reading headlines because my dad used to work for the paper, there are a lot of headlines that I got sick of reading lately. That Indiana had the lowest in the nation for teacher raises over the last 20 years. That we have the most polluted waterways. Wages have remained stagnant. We've lost $20 billion company to Ohio because we don't have a workforce or quality of life to support that workforce. I want to read. We've got a lot to be very proud for here. Like between our the steel that actually built the world, our only national park here. I want to read headlines where Indiana invests in early childhood education, that we become a destination for young professionals, that we create green jobs to clean up our streams and rivers, that we gain thousands of jobs and millions in revenue from legalized cannabis, that we see huge dividends from the infrastructure projects that we have coming. But the next headline that I actually want to read is that Pohl wins the primary and then Pohl wins the general election. So I want to thank you guys so much.
Thank you. Ron Meir.
Once again, I am Ron Meir, running for Indiana Senate 4th District. I think as we look at these things as who is going to be the best that can represent us across those party lines and the bipartisanship, and who can deliver. And over 8 years here in Michigan City, it was over $1.5 billion of investment from private governmental sector, and that's what's important. Because I think many times you'll have the candidates in a room and they all agree on the things that need to be done, or majority time, but it's who can deliver on that. And I have a proven track record of delivery. And as a two-term mayor, you find that you know the needs of towns and communities and the counties, and it's very important. And something that was mentioned earlier, when mayors go into a room, when the Indiana mayors all gathered, or if it was the national convention, no one cared what party they were. You all had common themes and common goals. So early voting begins tomorrow. Please vote for Ron Meir for Indiana Senate. Thank you.
Thank you. Todd Connor.
Thanks, Bonnie. I want to thank the League of Women Voters, fantastic organization. I want to thank all of you for being here, candidates as well as observers, for engaging in the democratic process. Our democracy is atrophied over the years. I launched an effort, we didn't have time to get into this, called Veterans for Political Innovation, and it's a function of the fact that people feel excluded from our political system. We could change that in Indiana with open primaries and with a combination of ranked choice voting. We could do big things in Indiana. The question is going to become, who are the folks that we have at the table to help deliver a bigger and ambitious future for what I think is possible for Northwest Indiana? And at the end of the day, I just challenge all of us to have our own vision as to what it could be in 20 or 30 years, and how will we get there? And having done economic development in other cities, and having seen folks in other communities, seeing military veterans start businesses and build economies, I believe that we have so much that is possible here. So I'm just really excited. I'd be honored to have your support, and I'm asking for it on May 3rd. Thank you.
Thank you. And Deborah Chubb.
Thanks. So I've been working for decades in this community to help improve the health and education of young children and their families. And I would love to continue doing that at the state level. We are going to have billions of dollars coming into this state for infrastructure. They are going to be union jobs, because that's what's written into the bills. Thank goodness we have a good federal administration who's looking out for us and ensuring good union jobs with that money. But none of that's going to matter if we can't keep our water clean, we're not taking care of our families, we're not educating our children. That is what I'm most practiced in, and I think my skills of collaboration and consensus building really are going to serve this community well down at the State House. So please hope you can vote for me in the primary, and then again in November. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you to all of our candidates tonight for State Senate. Thank you. We want to thank everyone for coming tonight, for joining us for this candidate forum sponsored by the League of Women Voters of LaPorte County and Access LaPorte County. As you know, voter registration ended today, and tomorrow is the first day that a voter may vote by absentee ballot in the circuit court clerk's office. And also tomorrow, early voting begins. You can find all of the locations at the LaPorte County website. and details about the hours they're open and all the locations. We do have 4 locations in this county now. And of course, Election Day is Tuesday, May 3rd. Democracy is not a spectator sport, so be sure to participate in our democracy by voting. Thank you all for attending this, and this is concluded.